Alright guys, so I'm just sitting out here waiting for my pickup. It's about 7:53, scheduled for 9 a.m. I've been here for probably about 45 minutes or so. I always like to get here early. I always like to arrive early, whether it be for the pickup, drop off, don't matter. I just like being early. For one, if anything's going to happen, I've got some time for it to happen and deal with some hiccups if some hiccups happen. And then obviously, if I get here early, especially on the pickup end, and I can get loaded sooner, it's the faster I can get unloaded and get on to the next load, because this one's just a short one, picking up in Eastlake, Ohio. I'm going over to Auburn, Indiana. It's only like 220 some odd miles. It's a little north of Fort Wayne, so I should be able to grab another one today. I'm only going to be out for a few days. Plan is just be out until Wednesday night or Thursday morning. The old lady's birthday's this weekend. We're supposed to go camping. We're supposed to leave Friday. I had been trying to go out on the weekend, well, towards the end of the week, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Last week wasn't able to do it. Got some issues going on with the 2019. Not 100% sure what's going on with it. I believe it may be a couple of issues. One being a filler neck issue. I don't know if anybody's had a filler neck issue with those vans, with those Ford Transits. This is the first time I've had a filler neck issue with the Transit. I have dealt with the filler neck issue with this van that I'm in, the E-Series van. So that all came about, I was actually known about it for a few months and was advised by a service, it shouldn't be an issue. But it seems to be becoming an issue because Thursday or Friday, the driver was letting me know that it was losing power on inclines with the load. So with that happening, it just stressed me out, honestly. I ain't gonna lie, it just stressed me out. So I didn't go out at the end of last week because I wanted to see what was going on with the van, be around and not be in the middle of driving and everything, so that I can, deal with it if anything happened. That van and driver should be at Ford right now getting looked at. Had the appointment for 8 a.m. this morning. So hopefully within a couple hours or so, hopefully they'll get it in there quick and I can at least find out what's going on, get an estimate. And when I get that, I'll update you guys on that as well. So got the other driver. He's in Roberts, Wisconsin. I feel I'm a little frustrated not getting him out over the weekend, but that's the thing. He delivered in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis is pretty good throughout the week, but on the weekend it's just hit and miss. Didn't really feel like having him deadhead over. I did talk to him, and again, this kind of goes a little bit in with the last video where I talked about communicating driver with dispatch. So I had told him, I said, if he's in this situation again, if he really wants to keep grinding, he can relocate over towards Chicago, get closer to Chicago, because there is stuff that comes up in Chicago over the weekend, which Chicago was kind of slow this weekend. Or I shouldn't even say it was slow, but a lot of the loads that was there were kind of going to crap places, but there still was other loads available. As I said, I didn't want to be like, hey man, why don't you move over here? I want the drivers to kind of make their own decisions for the most part, but I try to at least give my perspective, what I would do, because if it was me being in Minneapolis, I would have shot over towards Chicago after Friday night. That's just me, and that's not to say he's at fault for not doing it. That's why I'm shared with him my perspective on it and whatnot. So if he chooses to do it next time, then great. If not, he can even ask and say, hey, if I move over to Chicago, can you throw me a few bucks? Like I'll even work with that. So me personally, with the drivers, I want the drivers to show some initiative and what's the word I'm looking for? I guess experience, like actually learn and formulate their own plan. I think drivers too often, when they work for fleet owners, even drivers that are owner ops, so I shouldn't even say it's drivers with fleet owners, drivers in general, they seem to want to be led or expect to be led by dispatch or their fleet owner. Where at first, like at first, for sure, because when I first get with the carrier, I talk to dispatch, I communicate with dispatch. Again, that's why I said that in the last video, because that's what I do, that's what I've done. I communicate, like, hey, where are we good at? Like, if I land somewhere, like, hey, do we do okay here, or where do I need to go? And I tell them, like, I stress to them, I am not afraid to move, because dispatch, what you need to understand, dispatch, most of them really don't want to see you have to move, okay? Because they understand it costs money to move, and it frustrates drivers, so they're hesitant to be like, oh, hey, well, if you moved about 200 miles or moved about 300 miles, there's a better area. We do really great there. Me personally, I'm willing to chalk up that 4 or 5 hours and that $75, $60, $50, whatever the gas cost is at that time, to get to a better area to hurry up and get me another load, as opposed to sitting in a dead area and just, depending on luck for a load to pop up and win. With that being said, that's what leads me to say that, I want them to, show initiative. I want them to learn. I want them to understand, because, you are an independent contractor. They are their own entity. Now, granted, there's a limit to where that freedom goes, of course, but at the same time, again, I want moves that seem smart. I just want them to pay attention. That's really the biggest thing. Where I touched on getting here early, that's something that is, especially from a dispatch's perspective, and I shouldn't even say dispatch, but from a fleet owner's perspective, and knowing how I operate, a very frustrating thing is to see a driver show up at the last minute or the last 15 minutes or the last half hour when they've had plenty of time to be there at least an hour early. I'm big on at least that hour early, especially like this morning. Had a driver, scheduled delivery time is 9 a.m. He went home for the weekend because he couldn't deliver over the weekend. That's all fine and dandy. 7 o'clock, this mother sucker is just getting ready to leave, and he's an hour and 20 minutes from the delivery. To me, that's not okay, man. Some of you might think that's being a slave driver, expecting too much or whatever. To me, that's just the way to be, man. Like, I want to get there. Again, I don't want to have to worry about any problems. If I leave to get there and I'm only leaving myself 30, 40 minutes to get there, and I get a flat or I deal with an accident, with traffic or something, like, that screws me. Now I look bad. Now I made the customer upset. I'm making us look bad, the company look bad. I don't do that, man. Like, I'm giving myself plenty of time. As I said, with this one, I wasn't scheduled to pick up until 9 a.m., which is looking like it's going to be closer to 9 a.m. It's 8 o'clock. People have shown up, but I don't think anybody's in a hurry. I don't know if they have the order ready. But I was here at 7 a.m. I was here 2 hours early. It's just no big deal to me. Like, why? You're in the van. If you're in the van, why not be in the van at the place where you're supposed to load or unload, right? Why wait to the last minute? That's one thing that's super frustrating to me. I hate that. Like, I do. I absolutely despise that. And any of these things that I have issues with that I see drivers do, it isn't just me talking the talk and not walking the walk. Like, I want people to... What I say to people, or I advise to people, or what I get frustrated, are the same things that I do as a driver. Like, I take pride in what I do. Like, I ain't gonna lie, my thing, I'm a competitive dude. Like, for one, I want to be the best driver there is. I want to be the greatest expediter that's ever done this job. To me, that's what I strive for. I want to put in the most miles. I want to try to make the most money. I want to, get the best load. I mean, I just want to do everything as good as possible. That's just me. Take, for instance, this van. This van's old, beat up and everything, but I still went back there, going to clean the windows. I'm going to sweep it out. I'm going to armor all the dash. I mean, I want it clean. I'm in the van, right? Don't matter, man. I just take pride in what you do, man. It's a lost art or a lost trait out of people anymore. People are so entitled and unwilling to work and do anything anymore. And don't get me wrong, this is something I thoroughly enjoy, so that helps tremendously. It helps tremendously to be doing something for a living that you thoroughly enjoy. So I don't take that for granted. You know, I was just watching a video with a guy, and he's talking about going out of business. He does expediting, and I hit him up in the comments, and I gave him my email, told him to email me, you know, and because I'd like to try and get in touch with him. I want to kind of feel him out, see what he's thinking, see what he's talking, try to get an idea of what kind of driver he is he a hustler, you know, try to figure out where he's going wrong at, because he's basically saying he's not getting enough work and he's got a lot of bills. So I want to try to figure out whether that's him or whether that's just he's not getting situated with the right carrier, you know. And again, like I've said before, the majority of the time it's usually the driver, the individual themselves, and that being, you know, they're not paying attention to where they are, not making the move soon enough, not being frugal with their money, which I'm guilty of. That's my worst trait. Like, I am not near as good with money as I need to be, which makes my situation a lot more stressful at times than it should be. But with this guy, so I want to get in touch with him and try and talk to him, see if I can help him at all. And that's something I see often. You know, again, I touched on this in videos previous, just recently, talking about how you'll hear drivers complaining all the time. Complain, not getting this, not getting that. When it's out there, you know, understandably, things are tough, things are tight, but at the same time, you should, if you really have the ability and the willingness to do what needs to be done, you're going to make it in this industry. You're going to make money. You may not make a killing, and if it's not as much money as you need to make, of course you need to change. But if this is something you thoroughly enjoy, and depending on what you need to live, I mean, there ain't no reason why you can't make this, man, for real. Like, there's no reason. To me, it's a little frustrating to watch people, you know, make posts or make videos about not making it, because I feel bad for people when they fail. I really do. I've mentioned that before. That's one of the things about why I try to stress a lot of the negatives of this industry, because I want people to be prepared for that. I want people to understand that so that they know what they got to fight through or what they got to work with, you know. And if they come out and things aren't as negative as I made them seem to be, that's all the better, right? If you're expecting something to be kind of one thing and it ends up being better, I mean, isn't that always better? I guess, hope for the best, plan for the worst, you know, kind of thing. That's just how I am. You know, the thing about a lot of drivers out here that, you know, I don't know if anybody else really sees it the way I do or not, but a lot of drivers, and I'm talking big trucks, vans, whatever, a lot of people that are doing over-the-road driving, a lot of people have a lot of issues they're dealing with, man, like, for real. Like, again, it's a low education and skill level industry to get into, so it makes it very easy for just about anybody to get into it that's got a driver's license and a solid driving record. And that's not me knocking on anybody. So I'm just saying that a lot of people, I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say this in a way that I feel like I'm dogging on somebody, but like, it's almost like this is almost like a job that somebody is just kind of teetering on the fence of homelessness, man. Like, for real. Like, there are a lot of people that are just teetering on that. Because there's people that live in their vans and don't have hardly any money, and they always seem to be in a bad situation. And again, like, I do believe that a lot of these people are creating their own situation. Now, mind you, due to their mental health issues and whatnot, they may not be able to understand that, and they may not be able to change that. So I'm not knocking people for that. I'm just kind of giving the reality of what I see out here. I mean, we all go through our own stuff, regardless. Whether it's mental health stuff, stress with the family, drama, whatever it may be, breakdowns, whatever it may be, all of us have our own stuff. But not everybody's equipped to deal with certain things the same as everybody else. Alright, so I'm kind of just rambling a little bit. I'm just sitting here wasting time. Yeah, guys, just kind of wanted to touch on a few of those things. Well, I think I heard a door unlock. Alright, guys, I'm out.
hustle got to be strong in this industry, as in any other industry.